Hello, this is Robert M. Ross. I'd like to welcome you back to the Common Sense Lifestyle, where we take some psychological terminology and we translate it into some practical common sense terminology, some ideas that you can use practically in your everyday lives. It's been a while since I've made a video, a little over 2 months, I think. And basically the reason is I got really busy in my office. Basically had to take up the time I was using to make videos to see more clients. So actually had a couple cancellations today, so took the opportunity to sit down and make a video for you guys today. So we're going to get into some things here, but as first, we always have to have my little disclaimer. Yes, I am a licensed professional counselor here in Northeast Pennsylvania. However, this is not a counseling session. I am not your therapist. Nothing in this video or any of my other videos can be construed as mental health treatment. If you want treatment, if you think you need treatment, you should seek that out with a qualified professional in your area. You can check with your insurance company, find out who's in network in your area, or you can use functions like Find a Therapist on Psychology Today. They do a very good job of being able to link you up with the qualified professional in your area. So that aside, today we're going to talk about mood and exercise. Those things seem relatively unrelated, but actually they are. One of the things that I try to point out to people is, and one of the things that we tend to lose sight of in our society is this and this is connected. Brain and body, part of one system. And what affects this affects this. And what affects this affects this. In other words, our physical health can affect our mental health. There is an exchange between these two things. And in general, a little bit more globally, I view people as a triad of sorts. We have our mental health, we have our physical health, and we also kind of have our spiritual health. And spiritual can be religious, but it doesn't have to be. Spiritual can just be, where do I fit in this world? What's my purpose? Why am I here? So, when you have those three factors going on, we need all of those to be kind of in order to be an integrated, decent, operating human being. When we have a problem with one, they can affect the others, and then we start to have problems. So in terms of what we're going to be talking about today, our brain and body's connected, and if one has a problem, it's going to impact the other. So we're going to talk about how those two are kind of connected, at least in terms of how exercise helps. So we're going to be looking at the physical part of the triad today. So, to just show how the physical part of ourselves can affect the mental part of ourselves. When we have something chemically wrong with our bodies, it can affect our mental health. If we have a thyroid problem, people with hypothyroidism oftentimes appear to be depressed when they're not. People that have diabetes, their moods will fluctuate greatly when their blood sugar's up or down. People that have problems hormonally, their testosterone is too high, too low, their estrogen's too high, too low, will definitely have problems with their mood. People with adrenal problems, same kind of thing. Their moods are going to be different. And there's a growing field of research that even shows that, your nutrition can affect your mood. So, there's all kinds of things with our physical health can affect our mental health. So we definitely need to take a look at that. But we're seeing a connection between physical activity and mental health. Okay, I'm going to be quoting 3 articles today. 2 of them are for Psychology Today, and others from the Mayo Clinic. I'll leave the links in the description down below. Our first one is actually a couple years old. It is from Psychology Today. And it's talking about a connection between physical activity and mental health. I'm going to be doing some quotes from this, and you can look this up and read the entire article in your own time. But it says, how many studies did it take to convince you that moderate exercise will make you happier? If you need one more reason to start being more physically active, professors from the University of Toronto have compiled and analyzed over 26 years worth of scientific research, which includes that even moderate levels of physical activity, like walking 20 to 30 minutes a day, can ward off depression in people of all ages. University of Toronto PhD candidate George Mammon co-authored a review of 25 different research articles that shows that moderate exercise can prevent episodes of depression in the long term. And that compilation of research was published in the October issue, and I believe this was in 2016, of the American Journal of Preventive Medicine. So that's kind of impressive, and they reviewed 25 different studies. So that was pretty wide-ranging amount of information that they went through there. But what they're showing is moderate exercise, and again, you don't have to go crazy, but moderate exercise helps improve depression. Now, obviously, it's not going to make all your problems go away. It's not going to fix anything that's going wrong in your life, but it's definitely going to improve your mood. So it's going to be part of the overall puzzle of helping you be a better person, feel better. Second article from the Mayo Clinic. And again, link will be down in the description. You can read the article in its entirety on your own time. They talk about regular exercise may ease depression and anxiety by releasing feel-good drugs called endorphins. We have natural feel-good drugs called, and they actually refer to them in here as endogenous cannabinoids, natural cannabis-like drug chemicals, and other natural brain chemicals enhance your cell's sense of well-being when they're released. And these are released when you engage in moderate exercise. It can also take your mind off your worries. In another video in the future, I'm going to be talking about when you engage in negative thinking, when you dwell on things, which I call public enemy number one is dwelling on negative thoughts. When you dwell on stuff, you pull yourself down, you give your negative thoughts more power over you, and basically your depression, your anxiety, your anger, whatever, at that point becomes self-inflicted because at that point you're doing it to yourself. Well, if you're engaging in an activity, you're engaging in exercise or any kind of coping skill, you're no longer dwelling, you're doing something else instead. So it's actually a constructive activity that you can do instead of dwelling on stuff. So it actually does work in that capacity. Mayo Clinic article again, doing 30 minutes or more of exercise 3 to 5 days a week may significantly improve depression or anxiety symptoms. But a smaller amount of physical activity, as little as 10 to 15 minutes at a time, may make a difference. It may take less time exercising to improve your mood when you do more vigorous activities like running or bicycling. So once again, different research showing the same result. A lot of times when we research things, it's very easy to look at one study and come to a conclusion and be wrong because another study can come along 2 years later and say, oh, we were wrong. When you have multiple studies coming up with the same conclusion, yeah, it's starting to look, you see a pattern emerging there. So always look for additional research, that makes the same kind of conclusion when you're looking into research. Anyone can publish one study that says something. It doesn't mean it's true. When there's a whole bunch of studies, that points to a greater reality. So other study, this is also from Psychology Today, but this is referring to a study done by the Journal of the American Medical Association, Psychiatry. That is one of the most premier medical journals in the United States. So they're talking about lifting weights, resistance exercise. So here's a quote from them. That evidence comes from a meta-analysis published earlier this month, and this is from 2018, in Journal American Medical Association Psychiatry that examined the results of 33 randomized controlled studies on depression and strength training, referred to as resistance exercise training in the paper. The studies included both males and females of varying ages, more than 2,000 participants in total. Let me stop right there. 2,000 participants is a significant number. That's a good significant number. I will see many times when people are saying that my supplement product A helps boost this, fix that, whatever, and they will say, well, we did a study with 20 people. 20 people isn't a really good sample size. It's a very small sample size. When you get into the hundreds, when you get into the thousands, those are good sample sizes for research. So keep that in mind when you're consuming research, when you're looking at things. A research with a small sample size may not be bad if you're using it as a justification to say, hey, we might be onto something. This is a justification to fund a bigger research study with a bigger amount of people that we can really make some, good standing here. So something to think about. Moving right along, back to this Psychology Today article. When the results of the studies were aggregated, the researchers found that the resistant training significantly reduced the incidence of depression, regardless of whether participants had met a clinical cutoff for depression at the beginning of the study. The analysis showed that they were less likely to depress at the study's conclusion if they had been assigned to a weight training group. The results were significant when the researchers controlled for age, gender, or improvements in muscle mass. So even participants who saw few physical changes from the strength training still tended to see improvements in mood. So what they did here is they tried to rule out any other factor that could be contributing to this. So they tried to control for age. They tried to control for gender. They tried to control for gains. Let's say you tried weight training and you had no gains. Some people are hard gainers. Some people, you could lift weights until you turn blue and you're never going to get big. I'm one of those people. That's how you are. But it still is good for your mood. So, if you have health goals, not all of us can be huge. Not all of us can be big. Not all of us can be ripped. Not all of us can have six-pack abs. But we can benefit from exercise. We can still be healthier physically, and we can still be healthier mentally from that. So keep that in mind. Now, the Journal of the American Medical Association study, and this is an important kind of disclaimer here, they only note the association between resistance exercise and depression, and it doesn't really seek to identify the reasons why. It doesn't say why exercise helps. Okay, so it doesn't go into the actual why does this happen. It just notes the association. So here are some of my thoughts as to why this may work. For one, if you go back to the Mayo Clinic article, yes, it does release feel-good chemicals into the brain, and that does help you. Also, when you exercise, you feel better physically and mentally, and remember, these are connected. And if you do feel stronger, even if you don't get ginormous, even if you don't get huge, when you're picking something up and it's easier to pick up, when you walk up a flight of stairs and you're not winded when you get up 3 or 4 flights of stairs, when you're able to do more and move more and be more active without being exhausted and tired, you feel more confident. You feel more personally powerful. Not powerful that you need to hurt other people or dominate other people, but you feel more confident because you can do more stuff. You feel better. And if you have some fitness goals, let's say you want to lose some weight and you start working out, you start exercising, and you look in the mirror when you get out of the shower and there's less of you in places you want to have less of you and more of you in places you want to have more of you, you start to have confidence. And that confidence gives you a little bit more oomph to go back into your goals and put forth even more effort. As the old saying goes, success begets success. In the end, it's important to remember that the brain and body are connected. And if both are working well, we feel better, both physically and emotionally. It's not a solution to all problems. It's not going to fix a broken marriage. It's not going to fix the fact that someone passed away or you lost your job or your house burnt down or something like that. But it does help. Most human problems, most of the time people come into therapy or something like that, they have a wide-ranging problems, and as I noted in my video, The Dirty Little Secrets of Therapy, there's no one simple little thing that makes everything better. It's usually a whole bunch of little things. And exercise can be a very, very, very important part of that's overall encompassing solution. Kind of just a couple disclaimers to wrap up. Before you start an exercise program, be sure you're safe to do it. If you need to consult with a doctor, especially if you have some medical issues, if you have a history of injuries, You know, I know there's a lot of guys out there. They'll hit the gym, they'll pick up the weights, they'll go a little bit too hard, or you know, make sure your form's right. If you don't do form properly, you're going to hurt yourself, and then you're going to, you know, you won't be able to exercise because you're going to be seeing doctors or chiropractors or something like that. If you can, if you need to, get a trainer. I know those get a little expensive, but if you're in a position to be able to afford that, not a bad idea. A lot of times, if you join a gym, they can do that. You know, they'll have one on staff. You know, hook up with somebody who's educated and knowledgeable in that area and see what you can do. Again, the goal is not to be someone that, you know, Triple H or Vince McMahon's going to call and say, "Hey, WWE, Colin, we want you, we saw you, we want you to be a wrestler." You don't have to be huge, you don't have to be ripped, you don't have to be ginormous. Again, that's not in the cards for everyone. If it is, God bless you, great, but that's not in the cards for everybody. Be healthy, just be fit, be the best you can be. Um, as I end up with all my videos, if for any reason you're feeling suicidal, you're having suicidal thoughts, um, please remember that suicide is a long term solution to a short term problem. Most of the time, everything can get better. If you are feeling that way, if you have a friend or a family member that's expressing this to you, call the suicide hotline that I will leave down in the description below. There's no reason to end your life or allow someone else to end their lives for a temporary problem. So please, absolutely, under no circumstances end your life. Use that suicide prevention line down below. Otherwise, folks, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell so you'll be notified when I let out new videos. Again, this is my really busy time of year. This is my busiest time of year for whatever reason. So I don't know when the next video is coming out, but as soon as I get some more time, I will continue to put them out. Thanks. Have a great day, guys, and peace.